Okay, so by Lord Krishna's grace, we have finished up to chapter 5. And today I'll just do a complete summary of chapter 5 so that we can proceed to chapter 6 in the next class. And coming to chapter 5, as a summary, because we have to look back from where we have come up to here. And it's not only the context setting from chapter 4, like people like Shekhar who have followed me from the previous ones, and I've also mentioned to you in the when we started chapter 5. One thing very clearly to remember is chapter 5 runs parallel to chapter 3. So always read 3 and 5, like as if the odd numbers. The 3 and 5 runs very parallel in Bhagavan's teaching. And not only teaching, right from Arjuna's question. So really the context setting for chapter 5 goes to chapter 3 and then chapter 4. Though the first question is the context setting is from the chapter 4, but we have to analyze chapter 3 and 5 together parallelly. They run very parallelly. So the why they run parallelly? Because Arjuna's question is like that. What was Arjuna's question here in chapter 5, number 1? He says, Sanyasam Karmanam. That is, hey Krishna, Karmanam Sanyasam. Punaha Yogam Samji, you taught me. So the doubt is between the renunciation of action, Karmanam Sanyasam, renunciation of action, which is monastic sannyasi, and Yogaha, Karma Yogaha, between those two, what is good for me or Shreyas for me to attain moksha. In chapter 3, what did Arjuna ask? There, Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana. There the doubt was between action and knowledge. There the doubt was between action and knowledge in chapter 3. Jayasi chet karmanam. That is karmanaha buddhi. In comparison to karmana, in comparison to action, if buddhi is what by you, jayasi means shreshtaha, chet, if be so, tat kim karmani gorayasi niyojayasi. Why are you involving into the actions? Right? Here is slightly a matured question, a little bit more advanced. So there is a progression in Arjuna's question. We must observe that. There it was plain action to plain jnanam. Here he is asking to karma, because what did Bhagavan say in chapter 4, the last two shlokas, the 41 and 42, he did say about yoga sanyasta karmanam, jnana sanchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani ribadhanti dhananjaya tasmat ajnana sambhudam hristam. So what he said was actually yoga sanyasta karmanam. So that he understood something that we have to relinquish the action with the yoga. And so here Arjuna's doubt is, and then jnana sanchinna samshayam, and all the doubts being come with the jnanam again. So he is now a little bit advanced to say, asking, I think you are also mentioning about karma yoga, and there is a jnana yoga like. And between those two, because jnana yoga means karmanam sannyasa. Again. Okay, so that is where Tasmad Ajnana Sambhutam Bhagavan says, Atishta Uttishta Bharata Asina, with that sword. Then again Bhagavan asked him to engage in action. So that's where he got a bit again doubt. So he understood this, but what Arjuna did not understand, or he wants to know more, because Arjuna is a very esteemed seeker as well. What he is not understood is that he still has not got the Atma Shuddhi. And the Atma Shuddhi means the preparation of the Buddhi intellect to cognize that self-realization or the self-knowledge happens through both Karma Yoga and through Jnana Yoga. Or the monastic, when we say Jnana Yoga, means that monastic order of, that is complete dedication of life for the Jnanam, which is Ashrama Sannyasa. But in both, there is a purification of the Chitta Shuddhi happens. So that what Arjuna has not yet attained and not understood from the previous chapter's question. So that is why Bhagavan said again. So you understand the doubt of the Arjuna between chapter 3 and chapter 5. So just again go back and see that one, which is exactly what I have now told you. Okay, so the eligible qualification is very important in order to either go into a monastic order, that is for a proper ashrama sannyasa, or for karma yoga. And Bhagavan again, taking Arjuna as a nimitta, the instrument for all of us, recommends again that karma yoga, which is what is applicable for 99%. Okay, so Bhagavan says sannyasa. So here again, Bhagavan's answer will be slightly different from chapter 3. That is why Bhagavan's reply in chapter 3 also was slightly different, though, from here. So I'm just straight away going into the gist so that you can. I'm not going to go to sloka after sloka. So that's why Bhagavan said, Sanyasa karma yoga se nishya tayostu karma sanyasat karma yogo visishyate te visishyate. The karma yoga is what is more specified or more important, Arjuna, for you. And both of them nishreyasa karo. That is this one, number 5. Both of them will certainly be beneficial for everybody. Everybody means the persons who are qualified to go in that path. But there is a qualification required. So Bhagavan wants to answer as per the questionnaire, because he is giving the upasesham to the Sishya, Arjuna, through Arjuna to most of us, and which is what is for 99.999% of them. For which this karma yoga is what is more beneficial. And Bhagavan will say that both in the karma yoga and in the ashrama sannyasa, the sannyasa bhavana is more important. And the chitta shuddhi is what is more important. That is what Bhagavan is going to say here again. And that is why he says, Nyayasya nitya sannyasi yona dveshtina kankshati nirdvanto mahabhago sukham bandhat pramuchyate. And that in both of them, to get released from the attachment, it is actually a easy means through both the yoga. So it is the attitude of renunciation that is more important for both ways and above ways of life. And that is why he said again here, Sankhya Yoga Pratak Balaha. Balaha means here we need to say people who are in the very elementary stage who have not really got that maturity, that they think as if they are two different paths. But even if one of them well established and well followed and well executed, samyak vindate palam. What is the palam? The moksham. But in chapter 3, he said, Lokesmin dividhanishta pura prokto. Though he said there it was 2, here he said, Ekam sankyam cha yogam yaf pashyati tapashyati. Why? Because here the observation is, it is one really from a jnani's perspective. It is really 2 when it is observed from an ajnani's perspective or ajnana perspective. Understand? So looking at as if it is like a it is like a inverted triangle. When you observe the cone from the bottom, there is only one point. But when you observe the cone from the top or a triangle, there are 2 different points. That's all. It's very similar to that Bhagavan wants to say. Whether you're looking from the top being ajnani, from the bottom meaning a jnani, because both of them merge into jnanam, because ubayo vindate palam ekam. Ekam palam. That is ekam moksham. And for both of them, sannyasa bhavana, which is very important. And both of them, so that is what Bhagavan again, which is very clearly saying about this. And then he goes to say, Sankhya Yoga, Ekam Sankyam. And You see we said in number 3 it was Lokesmin Dvida Prishta. And Bhagavan again he said, Sanyasastu Mahabhago Dukkam Aptuma Ayogataha. Meaning to say, this Ayogataha, I very clearly said, one who has not followed the Karma Yoga. Here, when he said Sanyasaha, is actually the Karmanam Sanyasam, the monastic order. So that person should have had a lot of Karma Yoga already done. Only then he can relinquish all the karma. Without he completing the duties, not only in this life, through many more lives, what we are, because what's happening is this Sanchita Karma, which is basically the bandham, the karma, which we've accumulated for a lot of birth. Everything has to be, because it is accrued over many, many births. So that has to be completed. At least those duties, only then that person is eligible for sannyasa. And when that person takes up that monastic order, yoga yuktaha, achirenat munir brahma achirenat adhigacchati. Because he has to attain that in that one short span in that same life, sannyasi. Because sannyasis are not reborn. They are, after their finishing of the life, they have to attain samadhi. They are not cremated like Ajnani. They are properly adhishtanam. They have all the sannyasis. So that is why Bhagavan wants to stress here. He should have finished all the sanchita karma that he has accrued over very many births. Okay, so yoga yuktaha, as I very, very clearly said, Vaidikena karma yogena Ishvara samarpita buddhena para nirpapekshanena yuktaha. So all those things what he has got to do. And then Bhagavan, then again, he exalts this person who is Jivan Mukta. And imagine when Bhagavan said in this chapter, shloka number 8 and 9, when he is talking about this particular person, he is the Yoga Yukta. This can be attached to this from right from shloka number 8 and 9. It is for both of Jivan Mukta who has attained a karma yoga through karma yoga or through ashrama sannyasa yoga. And that person is what Bhagavan is saying is a Tattvavit, number 1. This Tattvavit. So this Tattvavit here is equal to Jivan Mukta. And that Tattvavit Naiva Kinchit Karomiti Yuktaha Manyeta. Because he is totally involved into that Brahman, because he has got that Atma Jnanam. So Atmani eva ramate, that he is ever enjoined in its Atma, that self-knowledge itself. So whatever he is engaged, all these things, you know, that whatever he sees or whatever he does actions through the instruments that he is endowed with, everything is merely as a instrument that the actions are being done just to convey the relative executional importance, or that it has to happen for the rest of his life that his body has taken. That's all the Jivan Mukta executes by his actions with the shloka number 8 and 9. And that is why he says, Indriyani Indriya Arteshu Vartante iti Dharayan. Dharayan means he upholds, and that is still engaged in the world. He is not gone anywhere disengaged. But the Jivan Mukta, whether he is coming from the monastic order or from the Karma Yoga, he performs the rest of the life like that. So that's why we were just coming to a condensed form. So once we have finished the chapter, the shloka 9, then Bhagavan says, understood Arjuna say, Krishna, of course you are telling about all this Tattvavit and that this sannyasa bhava, which is very internal to everybody, but I am somehow, you are also asking me to engage in the karma. So how can me being a atattva-vit, or I'm still having got the tattva-vit, meaning to say one who has realized that self-knowledge, tat. That tatyeva Brahman. So that tattva-vit, because I am not. How do I? So Bhagavan says, Upayam for Atatvavit, Ajnani, how he may progress to become the Jivan Mukta right in this life. Bhagavan gives shloka number 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so in the 10th, as we said, Bhagavan says he is like that particular lotus leaf, though it is floating in a pond full of mud and anything that could be underneath, but even the water does not stick on the leaf, and what it springs from those is a beautiful lotus flower, which is beautiful in look and also has got lovely fragrance. But how it is, so similarly, though you are also immersed in this world, samsara sagaram, you are that leaf being this particular, our kayena, manasa, buddhi, everything, how he wants it to be endowed with, like a lotus leaf, but how the lotus leaf can, our body, and because at the moment it is not like a lotus leaf, it is getting tainted by the, or it is getting stained by these worldly actions. But he says, use the karma yoga. And karma yoga in what way? Brahmanya ada karmani, meaning to say, ishwararpana buddhi, everything that being endowed, that submitting to that ishwara, that all these actions and their fruits and the doership, everything unto you, to the Bhagavan, either okay, in the form that we want to take it, and you, with that particular one, sangam tyaktva karoti. Papena. When he says papena, punyena api, meaning to say, because every action is going to give you some kind of a resultant fruit, whether, and that result, if it is ever sought after by the doer, it becomes papam or punyam. So that is why he says, once you have submitted that buddhi to the Brahmani eva, into that Ishvara Arpana Buddhi, then papam or punyam, nothing will na lipyate, like a Padma Patra, iva ambasa. Ambasa means by that water, how it doesn't stick on to the lotus leaf, this particular water from the samsara sagaram will never ever taint you. That is one easy upayam he gave in the shloka number 10. And then, and moreover, he says, number 11, you know why that person has to do, Arjuna? Kayena manasa buddhya kevalai indriyaipi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. The atma shuddhaye means that ajnanam, which is ever drawing these particular instruments and my manas and buddhi into the outside world, because of which I am seeking the fruit. And he says, by the practice of merely executing, kevalaihi, merely executing this action, as I'm executing through this instrument, because this instrument still I am the executor, that I am not the ownership, I am the executor, I am the person who has been given the duty. So with that duty bhava, kevalaihi, kayena, with the body, with the mind, buddhya, yoginaha karma kurvanti. By that, nimittameva. Nimitta means this instrument. And with that, atma shuddhaye, and with that, and the, because when we are doing some kind of a what can I say, objective will always be there in the buddhi, and the objective, Bhagavan says, keep it as atma shuddhaye, no problem. That is why he is giving this atma shuddhaye, to meaning to say that when we execute this, we say, look, this is purely for my atma shuddhi. And with that nimitta karanam eva, for that also automatically your association of your identity with the body, with the mind and the indriyas will slowly go away. That is what is atma shuddhi here. The false identification of my or me or mine through these organs slowly gets faded away, slowly gets depleted, slowly gets destroyed. That is what is Atma Shuddhi. The more and more our false identification, our avivek, that is where the viveka grows. With the Viveka, the Vairagyam goes. With the Vairagyam, for him, the Samadhi Shatka Sampatti. All the Viveka Chudamani, Sadhana Chatushtayam. Sadhana Chatushtayam automatically develops into one fold into through the Viveka, Vairagya, Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, then Mumukshatvam. That Mumukshutvam eva is his goal. And that is why Bhagavan gave that. And then furthermore, he says, Yuktaha karmapalam tyaktva shantimam naishtikim ayuktaha. So in the 12, he said, and what kind of a shantim he gets? A naishtikam shanti. Meaning to say, because the fruit is fruit that whatever the fruit, the Atma, meaning to say during the process, whatever that Atma Shuddhi, the false identification, what slowly goes away, he says that itself is a Shanti, which is Naitikam, which is ever longing for him, because he has sown that seeds, not only in this Jarma, if at all he has to take the succeeding Jarma, that seed will grow and nurture more and more for him to become a Jnani, which is what Bhagavan will say more in the next chapter. Anekasam sampraptihi. Then only we get it. And so every seed we sow, every action we do, every day in every one prayatnam, through the Ishwarpana Buddhi, with the Nimitta Karanam, with relinquishing the false identification that I am the doer or I am going to enjoy this, that everything being that Samarpanam slowly builds that Karma Palam Tyaktva, that renunciation of the karma fruits itself, that is a Karma Palam Tyaktva, Shanti Apnoti. But Ayuktaha, if you are not convicted into this one, if you are not convicted through all this knowledge, so how does a Yukti come? Yukti come only by this Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. So that's why Bhagavan says, Ayuktaha Kama Karena, because he has not got the conviction through Shravanam Manana Nididhyasanam, that person, Ayuktaha Kama Karena Pale Sakto Nibadhyate, he gets bonded into this particular fruits. When we get bonded into the fruits, you get complete false identification into this mind, body, and your all the faculties. Because the fruits can only be attained through the outside fruits, I mean. Whereas for Atma Shuddhi fruits, it doesn't require them this Indriyam, because you are that. Because the fruits is already there in you, Atma. That is Atma Jnanam. That is why that pralam is naistiki. And the person who is thus having relinquished and in the practice, he becomes a Atmanishta or Atma Jnana Nishta. And that Atma Jnana Nishta, then what happens when he does is, he says, Sarva Karmani Manasa Sanyasaste Sukham Vashi. He is a Vashi. Vashi means now that all the Indriyas are in his domain of control. All of them being in his domain of control, that because they do not go outside to the outside world as they used to wander before. So Sarva Karmani Manasa Navadware Pure Dehi, though he is still in this body that is having all these Indriyas, Karmendriya, Jnanendriya, Naiva Kurvanna Karayan, he never does anything or makes any action to be executed by others. When he says that, he does not have any ownership in any of this when he is doing this. And that is why Bhagavan then exalts these two for this particular Vashi through, again in shloka number 14 and 15, with two more beautiful adjectives. And this shloka number 14 and 15 is beautifully gives us that Atma Tattvam. So in this one, to what observe is the 14th is Prabhu, in the 15th is Vibhu. And that 14th shloka, the Saram is Atma Akarta. In the 15th, the shloka is Atma Abhokta. Because why Bhagavan says, Naiva Kurvanna Karayan. When you do an action, you are a karta. Though how does he does not do? And what is happening here is, here Bhagavan's saying this shloka number 14 from the Paramarthika Drishti, from an absolute context. So we should never take this 14 and 15 from a relative context. When I say relative context, like thinking as if there is a person who is executing it, or some person which is making somebody else execute, or that person who is enjoying it. We should not take it, then this will become anartham. So what Bhagavan says is, Prabhu, lokasya kartrutvam na srijati. Then lokasya prabhu, lokasya karmani, lokasya kartrutvam na srijati, karmani na srijati, karma pala sanyogam na srijati. Everything but swabhavastu pravartate. So when you read just like that in a very literal context, this will become a lot of confusion. Because Bhagavan, you are the creator. Srijati means created, creating, srijati, present tense. So Bhagavan is not creating the your doership. Bhagavan is not creating the actions. Bhagavan is not creating, srijati, very important, creating this karma pala sanyogam, that particular attachment through the karma pala meva. But swabhavastu pravartate. So when we read this particular shloka, again what we have to say, keep in mind is, what Bhagavan says is that from a person who has not got any attachment into this particular, so we should not take Prabhu as a Saguna Brahman, but from an Atma, because Atma, that self-knowledge which shines in all of us, which is what is our true identity, that is only like a supplier of the energy or the supplier of the Chaitanyam into this. It is only that ajnanam with which we have, whenever we put the false identity into the body or the mind or this particular organs, then these things come. So in the swabhavaha is, what is the swabhavaha equal to? Maya. Swabhavaha means, because when we were born, we are born because we have got a Maya. Otherwise, we won't be born, right? Very simple logic. If I have attained moksha in this janma, I won't be born. So, swabhavaha, when we say very casually, we tell, oh, this is the swabhavam. Meaning to say something that he is born with, right? We knowingly or unknowingly, we say is his swabhavam. Meaning to say as if he is born with it, or an inborn quality. That inborn quality, Bhagavan is putting in a very ephemeral sphere and saying this is Maya. Because of the Maya Prakriti, there is a Kartrutvam, there is a Karmani, there is a Karma Para Sanyogam. Because you are born, when you are born means you have got a swabhava. You have got swabhava means you have a avidya. That Maya and avidya is the same. Maya is a samashti, avidya is a vyashti, or from an individual context. So when we say swabhavaha, it is basically the avidya because of which you are born. Everybody is born. Anything that is born because of avidya. And we are born because to remove the avidya and go to vidya and to get the moksha. So that is why Bhagavan wanted to say here, be mindful of this Maya, which is what is causing you this kartrutvam, na karmani, lokasya karmani, the actions, and the karma parasanyogam. But Prabhu, that when we say Prabhu, this is Swayam, everybody is your own Prabhu. So when that particular identification with the Viveka Buddhi gets depleted from the Swabhava, automatically we go into the Prabhu, meaning to say that Atma Bhava. and the Atma Jnana. That is what was the chapter 14. This talk is Shloka 14's essence. Very important. Then again, so when you only key words keep in mind, then everything will fall in place. Swabhavaha is equal to Maya. Prabhu means Atma. Then again in this Shloka 15, he said Vibhuhu. So that is why these shlokas can never be taken in its own and then be interpreted, because they will give. That is why I said you always have to take the context from the previous shlokas and to the subsequent shlokas. Certain shlokas can be taken. Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyakta karu, that can be taken. But these are very key shlokas which will have to be taken in the proper context with the preceding and succeeding shlokas. And again, 15 also, when he says Vibhuhu, so he says Vibhuhu papam, sorry, Vibhuhu kasyachit papam. So when he says papam punyam, sukritam is punyam. So what he's saying is, this is a reactionary portion. So what we may have is, okay, I am doing with the no doership portion and also with the Brahmanya Daya Karmani, I am doing, but what about it? Because in the whole world, when I do an action, there is some reaction because I am doing an action. That's the nature of the world. So how am I going to forbear the reaction? Prabhu, that Bhagavan says, hey, you Prabhu, you are also the Vibhu. Meaning to say, do not worry, that will never ever come and attach you. Na adatte kaschachit papam na chaiva sukritam. He guarantees that when being executed as a Prabhu, with no kartatvam, no karmani, no karma yogam, kaschachit papam na punyam na adatte varade vanakundam. He is guaranteeing these things. Why? Because ajnanena avritam jnanam. Why? And then tena muhyanti jantavaha. And that particular jnanam is the dwaram or the one for the moksha. Jantavaha muhyanti. That swabhavaha means ajnane avritam. Avidya. With the ajnane avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantavaha muhyanti. So with the jnanam, jnanena, with the jnanena ajnanena muhyanti. You understand? So that is what Bhagavan says. The 15th shloka, why Bhagavan had to say is because from a reactionary phase, that if I may have anything, that how am I going to reconcile the reactionary aspect of it? You say, Bhagavan says, na adatte, because even that, not only from the karma parasayogam, this is only ajnanam, this whole reactionary aspect of it. When the jnanam is in that, through the Prabhu, that ajnanam mukhyanti, that from that the released, the attachment, which is basically ajnanam mukhyanti. And again he says, jnanena tu tadajnanam mesham nashidamatra tesham adityavat jnanam prakayashi tatparam. And this particular jnanam, how does it and when does it shine? Bhagavan, he says that it is a adityavat jnanam. It is ever effulgent. Only thing we were not able to reconcile to that one. He says that ajnanam nashitam atmanaha ajnanam. That particular ajnanam, when it is completely drawn, it is like as if the cloud which is gone away from the sun, but the sun ever shining. Adityavat. Prakashayati tatparam, that ultimate jnanam, with that ultimate jnanam, always prakasham. That is what Bhagavan is again saying here. And then in shloka number, and that again Bhagavan said this particular one, how does we get the sattva buddhi? So that is why Bhagavan said, tat buddhayas tadatmanaga tannishtas tatparayanaha gachyanta punaravrittim jnana nirduta kalmashaha. Here, what Bhagavan wanted to say, Tannishtas Tat Para Ayanaha. Tat Eva Param Ayanam Eva Yasya Tat Parayanaha. Like I was telling you about that Ramayanam, the same thing Tatparayana. And for this person, who is a Jnana Nishta, for him, the ultimate goal or his ultimate ayanam is abode is in the Tat. Tat Param Ayanaha. That is Ayanaha, Saha Tat Parayanaha. With that, if asked is what is Tat Buddhayaha, with Tatyeva Buddhayaha, Tatyeva Atmanaha, Tatyeva Nishtaha, Tatyeva Ayam Para, Asya Parayanaha. He Gachyanta Punaravritim. Punaravritim means again and again to be born. Apunaravritim Gachanti. Meaning to say he is not born. And Jnana Nirduta Kalmashaha, that all the avidya having been relinquished by the Jnanam. And then in the shloka number 18 and 19, he said more about that particular jnani who is a jnana nishta, who is a realized person again. He said that person, Atmanishta, even though he engages with other people, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, that means with somebody who is a very well humiliated, humility endowed, well-knowledged Brahmana or Gavi, Hastini, in all of them, Bhagavan, an elephant, in a cow, or in a dog, or a dog meat eater, in all these things, different Rajas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. That's what Bhagavan wanted to kind of say, that because the whole world is filled up with Sattva, endowed people, living beings, and the Rajas endowed one, in all of them, he has got a Samadarshinaha. He does not see the Upadi. Because all these things, whatever we endowed as good, bad, ugly, it is only due to the Upadi, but he is all the time only looking at the Upahitam, which is the Atman, the shining Atman. And that, how does this Samadarshinaha, again the same, the shloka number 19 is a repetition of shloka number 18, but only thing, he was a doubt may arise. Okay, well, when does he engage again? Will that taint him in some manner? No, it will not taint. Nirdosham hi samam Brahma, because his vision is only on the Brahman, which is devoid of any of the culmination of Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And so, Tasmat Brahmani te stitaha. And that is how he remains in that Brahman. So for him, that particular, nothing that it is going to taint him from that Samye Manam stitaha. So that is what he said about the shloka 19. And also, one may ask, what about he's not, we do have some kind of an aprakrishit priyam prapya, nodvijay prapya cha priyam, stira buddhira sammudaha, brahmavid brahmani. It is again the same thing in the above shloka. Only thing he is saying, him also has got no personal likes or dislikes when he comes across any of these from the worldly creatures, which normally we say for something that you like or you don't like. He has got purely no like and dislike, because Brahmavid Brahmanistitaha, that one who has attained the knowledge, known the Brahman, he always remains in the Brahman. So there is that knowledge alone is the ultimate goal for moksha, and that Brahmavid, that is the ultimate jnanam or the Jivan Mukta. And again in the shloka number 21 and 21, he said about Bhyaspashe Svasaktatma Vindyatmani Tatsukam Sabrahma Yoga Atma Sukam Akshayam Ashtute. And what about his any Sukam? He says, because he's Atmanishta, is all his Sukam is that Akshayam. Akshayam means which is never depleting, like it Amritam is ever bestowing nectar. That Atma Jnanam, in that only he is ever remaining Bhyaspasheshu Asaktatma. So that is, even though he is in coming in touch with the external world, but his Brahma Yoga Yuktatma, he is ever enjoyed in the internal Atma Amrita nectar Sukam. So the external ones doesn't bother him one bit. So Arjuna's doubt may come from the shloka 22. Krishna, I understood this Jnani Sthiti. It is very nice. But how does this withdrawal and then immunity from the external material world will happen. Is it possible for a normal Ajnani like me remaining in this normal world? Because I am enjoying, I cannot negate myself. Certain sukham and dukkham that I am experiencing. I just can't put some kind of a falsehood and tell myself. So how to get that conviction? How that logic may come into me as an Ajnani? So Bhagavan goes to more in the shloka number 22, 23, 24, 25. So that's what Bhagavan is having more. So again, I think I dwelt in the last class. So Bhagavan, he says, Yehi, Arjuna, in this Yehi samsparshaja bhogaha, dukkha yonaya evate, adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. So Bhagavan says, hey Kaunteya, these sensual pleasures arising around of this material world are impregnated with sorrow only. This is very strong statement by Lord. May sound a pessimistic view of the world, but again we analyze this very clearly. To obtain any pleasure from this material world, whether it be through people or an object, first there must be a vastu sankalpam, means convicted thought in the mind that if I get this object, or if I get this person, or if I there be with this person in my life, it will bring happiness. So this thoughts initially, what it does is it produces a tapam or a longing, because it's still not obtained. It's not obtained. So that is why tapam itself, the word which is called tapaha, meaning it is Agni. So this longing itself is a tapam, which is actually a sorrow. So the beginning itself is a sorrow, but the Ajnani thinks this tapam as itself is a beautiful pleasure, but it is actually a tapam, which if not quenched will be sorrow. Hence, before even obtaining an object, first effect of this person is a sorrow. So that's why Bhagavan says, Adi antaha kaunteya yeha dukkha. Otherwise, Bhagavan won't put this word. Adi antava means Adi antavantaha. Not only that, it is also as the beginning and the end, but in the beginning also dukkha, antaha eva dukkha. So why? Because of the tapam. Okay, and then the vastu, when it is attained, or when you go and reach that person, or you get that object, or when that person comes into you or the house or whatever it is, then there is a vastu grahana sukham. Aha, that it has come. But actually it is not a sukham. It is just the tapam has been quenched. Only the agni which was burning in you has been quenched. Aha. But we don't see my tapam has quenched. But we think as if, aha, I got this object. That is called vastu janya sukham. But then any object we know in this world does not come maintenance free. Anything. Object or people or anything. We all know that. And that is only temporary. And is always limited by time. Right? And when that object in this world, either that object has to leave or you have to leave. Or that person has to leave or you have to leave. One of them have to leave. So then again a tapam says, oh, will I leave, or she will leave, or I will leave, or that object will leave? That again is a tapam, right? So that is antavanta, antaso dukhameva. So that vastu, that is why Bhagavan says, Kaunteya, nateshu ramate buddha. When you have got this particular knowledge, Arjuna, you will never see any happiness in this. Happiness means you should never see pleasure in these things. And there are inherent 4 dosha in all of these vastu. What are they? Dukkha mishrutvam, always intertwined with worries. Dukkha mishrutvam. Next one is atruptikaram. There is always be someone who has got something better than what we got, that object or person. And bandhagatvam. It does always make you dependent on that. There is a dependency. And jnana nashanam. depletion of the Viveka Buddhi or the Atma Jnanam. So that is why Bhagavan says, Kaunteya, after conviction of the above, when one tries to withdraw from the sensual pleasures, first symptoms are, so that's why Bhagavan again he says, you remember in Shaknoti Haivaya Sodum, Prak Sharira Vimokshanan, Kama Krododbhavam Vegam, Sayukta Sasukinara. We did this very detailed in the last class. So Bhagavan says, you know what, Arjuna, if these not been handled rightly by the knowledge, that comes into Kama and Krodha and Udbhavam Vegam, and they also have their impulse, which again is quite very difficult. So he says, Prak Sharira Vimokshanad, before this, the Janma that we have got is only to win over this. Win over this with the knowledge that it has given to you. Sodum Shaknoti, sa yuktaha sa sukhinaraha. And that is how the yuktaha comes. Karma Yoga yuktaha comes only from this knowledge. And with that, he says, Sukhi Naraha, even from that particular knowledge, when he has applied this in every bit of his sankalpa in his life, he becomes a Sukhi Naraha. And then Bhagavan, again he says, Yonta Sukontara Ramaha. This again you will see, Sukontara Ramaha, this one is also very similar to chapter number 3. Then there, Atmaratha, Yasvat Bharata, in that one. Similarly, only here also Bhagavan says Atmanishta. So the rest of the shloka is all about Atmanishta and then Nididhyasana. So the subsequent 5 + 1, 6 shlokas in this one, as we finish, is about the Atmanishta and Nididhyasanam and some Upayanam for that as well. So Bhagavan said, Yonta Sukontara Ramaha, Tatantar Jyotirevayaha, Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam, Brahma Bhutodi Gacchati. So he says that particular person is Antasukhaha. Antasukhaha means Atma Sukhaha, Atma Jnana Sukhaha. And Antarar Atmaha means Atmarar Atmaha. And Atma Jyotihi Eva. With this one, he is a yogi Brahma Nirvanam, Brahma Bhutaha, because with this one, that when he sees that, see, the thing is what Bhagavan wants to say is, this is not a pleasure that can be experienced by withdrawal. That has to be only enjoying from withdrawal. The withdrawal itself, when properly done with the conviction, he says that Atma Sukham automatically shines forth. And with that one, yogi, Brahma Nirvanam, Brahma Nirvana means remaining in this one, the rebirth, birth and rebirth, Brahman, he is devoid of that any rebirth, meaning to say, moksham, and Brahma Bhutaha Adhigacchati. And Labante Brahma Nirvanam Risheha Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaita Yatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Hiterataha. And those person, Kshina Kalmashaha, having depleted all the impurities, that which was born when it was in this birth, Kshina Kalmashaha, Chinna Dvaidaha, that they are never into that particular dualities being in that world. They are not broken by this dualities in this world. Yata Atmanaha, Yatatmanaha, that all their effort, Yati means here that he has controlled everything in this Atman. And Sarvabhuta, and if at all when he's moving about, it is for the benefit of the others in this world. And such a person, that's why he is called Yati. I mean, like sannyasis, we call Yati. This person also is a Yati. That is why Bhagavan wanted to say, look, this karma yogi itself is a walking sannyasi. When he has practiced these ones, and kama krodha viyuktanam, and that person now being devoid of this, the chinna dvaita means same kama krodha viyuktanam, kama, the desire, and the anger which rises because of the kama not being quenched, both of them being released, devoid of it. this particular one, yata chetasam, of the, because his buddhi is atmaneva nishtaha, habito, meaning to say, even in this place or in the other place, in the paraloke, Brahma Nirvanam, Vidita Atmanam. By the time, whatever that he has to remain in this world, that he remains, and then Brahma Nirvanam Vartate, that he is not born again. And then in the shloka number 27 and 28, we briefly saw it is about the upayam again, Nididhyasana. That Nididhyasanam, Bhagavan is sowing as a seed for the next chapter, shloka, the chapter 6, which is Dhyana Yoga or Atma Samyama Yoga. So Bhagavan said briefly about pranayama here in the Sparshan Kritva Bahir Bhagyan, the Ashtanga Yoga. Bhagavan has very condensed in this one. And then he has talked about all of them here. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara. This Sparshan Krutta Bahirvahyan is Parityagaha. That Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara. The Pratyaharam is Sparshan Krutta Bahirvahyan. Then he also come into Yatendriya Manobudhi Munir Moksha Parayanaha Videcha Bayakrodaha Krodaha. Yes, Sada. This particular one is endowed with the Ashtanga Yoga, Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, which Bhagavan will explain more in detail in chapter number 6, which we briefly saw that pranapano samau krutva nasabhyantara, through the nostrils, between that, having concentrated that particular prana, that is exhalation, inhalation, within the eyebrows, in between the eyebrows, he prepares himself from the pranayama. While doing the pranayama, he does the pratyahara. Pratyahara means not allowing the thoughts to go anywhere outside. That is what he says. Bahir Bahyan Sparshan Kritva Bahir Bahyan. So with not any of the external thoughts coming and disturbing him, he does the pranayama. With that, Yatendriya Mano Buddhihi, that particular Manas, Buddhi, and all the Indriya, having controlled into this, Munir Moksha Parayanaha. He is a Muni, Bhagavan, he says. Vigadecha Bayakrodaha, Yasada Mukta Evasaha. So with that, again, we will explain more in the next chapter, which has completely about this particular Ashtanga Yoga, with that withdrawing of all his thoughts and external world, and controlling the apana in a harmonious manner, placing the concentration. We will see in the next one. He is Muni, and he is ever liberated while living in this world. He is basically living in meditation. Even though he may voluntarily is at times in meditation. This person indeed is called Mam Yajna Tapasam. That is why he says Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. This Yajna Tapasaha, who is this Yajna Tapasaha, is that person who has done that previous one. Yajna Tapasam. That Yajna Tapasam is that Ashtanga Yoga, which is in 27 and 28. So Mam Narayanam Yajna Tapasam. With that, that yajna and tapas, for both, I am the ultimate abode. And bhoktaram, doer, and the devata rupena, and sarvaloka maheshwaram. For all of this particular, the world who is actually the saguna and nirguna Brahman, sarvaloka maheshwaram. Sukritam is indeed the one who is the most friendly to everyone. Sarva bhutanam sukritam. Jnatva mam shantim amritam shantim mrichati. He attains that ultimate moksha in this world as living in this world. So with that, I will finish the chapter 5 summary. I know I've rushed in some of the places because I didn't want to repeat what I did in the previous classes. So you may also do it, but I just wanted to get you the say essence. And the essence is sannyasa bhava, which Bhagavan says. And one of the main thing also he said about that, how shaknoti haiva sodum, yonta sukont, not yonta, the yehi samsparshaja bhoga, which is very important. And the brahmanya daya karmani, that is also very nice. So in this shloka, in this particular one, Bhagavan has very clearly condensed how a karma yogi can be a sannyasi while living in this world as a karma yogi. And we also send this particular is called Vidvat Sannyasi. So this is mostly about this chapter 5 is about Vidvat Sannyasi. Vidvat Sannyasi means a person Vidvat because of the knowledge inborn internal sannyasi. In another one is what we call Vividisha sannyasi. Vividisha means that with a proper process oriented sannyasi who is monastic one. But this is Bhagavad Gita is mostly about Vidvat sannyasi, meaning to say the sannyasa bhavana and how we may inculcate that sannyasa bhavana internally. This chapter is very, very useful when we look into most of the shlokas. That Prabhu Vibhuhu is very nice in that sannyasa bhavana. Hmm, very, very nice in that one. All the shlokas are good, but I'm just again key pointers to some of them. The first few bits we saw that this and Krishna's answer is little bit more matured in this one, and so Bhagavan's answer is also a little bit advanced from a Jnani's perspective. Then he talked about that, and he also said he warned him about that monastic order being not suited for ayogataha dukkha eva. And then he said, look, even though for both of them, they both are Jivan Mukta who can lead such a life. And then he talked about Yoga Yuktaha, Atma Shuddhaye, that for Atma Shuddhi only, that meaning to say, for that Viveka Buddhi, that for us to get that karma yoga with Ishararpana Buddhi, with that is what is important, Bhagavan is laid. And then he talked about the Vibhuhu and Prabhuhu, which gives us that Atma, why it is an Akarta and Abhokta. And then he talked about again the Jnana Nishtha, how he dwells in this world, even though he may be engaged with all the dualities in this world, and that doesn't affect him. And Bhagavan gave Upayam, and then again he entered with the Upayam of Ashtanga Yoga, which he will again expand more in the next chapter 6. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Tatsat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Sannyasa Yogo Nama Panchamo Dhyaya Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay, I am open to question and answers. Please ask. This is a good time. Anything in this chapter 5, please, or from the previous chapters, or what you have doubt, please do. So we may just, the summary class is very good to kind of address any of those doubts if you have.
Babuji.
Haji. Cholunga Shekhar ji.
You mentioned about the Swabhava in Sloka 14, and I think that's where it's basically mentioned 14 and 15. So when you have to look at it from the Paramartha Drishti, look at it from absolute angle, is Swabhava is Maya. Now, where does this Swabhava actually originate?
Okay, Maya, but if you look at it, is Bhagavan's srishti, right? But Mama Maya, Bhagavan, he said in chapter 4. If you read, if you remember,
Maya Dharatya,
no.
correct?
No. In chapter 4, when he talked about creation, he said, Atma, before Yada Yada is some Glanir Bhavati, before that, Ajo Pisannapyayatma, Bhutanam Ishvaro Pisan, Prakritim Swamadishtaya,
Sambhavam
Sambhavami Atma
Atmayamaya.
Maya, that Prakritim Swam Adishtaya. That Prakritim, that for this Prakriti means this whole creation, Swam Adhishtaya, by establishing it in me, Atma Maya, Prakriti Swam Adhishtaya, Sambhavami, Atma Maya Sambhavami. That Atma Maya is again is from Bhagavan. But only thing is that Atma Maya, because of that, Bhagavan created these three guna, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And that Sattva, Rajas, Tamas is because Prakriti can only function with these three gunas. It cannot be with pure Sattva as well. So that is what is the Maya. That Maya creation is from Bhagavan. It is as if that it is woven from himself. That is why when we see even right from the first one, like when it is in a Padmanabha, that when he did the first sriti of Brahma, Chaturmukha Brahma, from his Nabi, that itself is actually a kind of a from the Maya Prakriti, because then he asked Chaturmukha Brahma to create the creation. But you can take Brahmaji as a pure Satik. And then maybe Chaturmukha Brahma created the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and don't create a world, because then only he creates a human being, everything, right? So everything originates to Paramatman, Shiva Narayana.
Okay, if you look at it from the Vesti angle, from the individual point of view, not totality, then how would this Swabhava fit?
See, that is what I'm saying. The Moola Prakriti, that is a very big thing in all the scriptures. They go to say Moola Avidya. Moola Avidya, they call it. Moola Avidya, because meaning to say there is a Moolam, that is a Adi, that for me to be born, my first Janma. How did that happen? No answer.
Yeah, indeterminate. Yeah, it's we can't
Why did
like
my first birth happen? Because, yeah, there is no answer to that one.
it's like a original sin. I
Sure,
mean,
I don't want to mention that. That is why.
okay. Just say that. I mean, that's the different
Maybe
interpretation.
that's what they might have. Yeah,
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 correct,
yeah,
correct. They say that. Okay, so
yeah, yeah.
it's really very difficult to conceive of why that has come, because there are two questions we cannot ask: why and how. See,
Yeah,
this.
the
Yeah,
Maya,
correct.
that's a lot of them say. See, then the answers, some of the Bhagavan Leela, Bhagavan wanted to have this one as a Leela, and a lot of other things are said.
Yeah, yeah.
But that again is from a Veshti. Why should, then you can ask, why does Bhagavan want to have Leela on my behalf? Bhagavan, have Leela with anybody else, not with me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's Bhagavatam Skanda 3, when Vidura's questions, Maitreya answers, I think Maitreya Maharishi answers that beautifully, this particular thing, in chapter 9,
Okay.
all that
Okay.
beautifully. That, yeah. So, anyway, so I think this is something which there is no answer.
There is
Okay.
no key answer from a Veshti. From a
Yeah, that's,
Samashti, from some
yeah,
Samashti or a thing we can, because that's
yeah,
from
correct.
Bhagavan.
Yeah.
From a Veshti, then that is where it is very difficult to understand that how did I, as my entity, so I might have had so many Janmas before, why did my first Janma happen? There is
Correct. Yeah,
no concrete answer that I have heard anywhere before.
yeah.
Does
I,
Maya come under upper Prakriti?
Sorry?
Lower, is it in the upper Prakriti?
Up,
Lower Prakriti and upper Prakriti. Lower Prakriti, we have the five senses plus the mind, ego, and the intellect. So does Maya comes under the upper Prakriti?
You can say Maya is both in Apara. See, Maya itself is, okay, then chapter 7, we'll get Para and Apara Prakriti. Okay, that little bit you can say that. But when we come there, Bhagavan will say that Apara Prakriti, actually everything is in that Para Prakriti, he will say. And there, when he again goes that Para Prakriti, he will put it everything into that Brahman Eva. So Maya and Avidya, sorry, Maya and Avidya is very synonyms. Only Maya is a Samashti, whereas Avidya is Vashti.
Okay.
Because without any Triguna, see, that's what some people, when we say, even when we go and see, we should not, even when we go and worship any Bhagavan in a Rupa, that also is in a way Maya. Only thing is a pure Sattva Maya.
You mean to say Saguna Brahman is Sattva Maya?
Yes, but that's where we as Advaitis and Dvaitis may differ. For Dvaitis, that they do not take it. Dvaitis and Vishishta Dvaiti, Bhagavan with the Ishvara Kalyana Gunavan is not Maya for them. So from ISKCON and other people, yes, you have got this lower Prakriti as the Maya. If you read their books, yes, it is like that. But from a Shankara and Advaitic people, we say even Vigraha, everything, any Nama Rupa is Maya, we say. But for them, no. Ultimate form of Sriman Narayana is the Parabrahman, and that is devoid of, that is not Maya for them. The lower Prakriti is Maya, you are right. That is from a Vishishta Advaita and Dvaita. And they've got lots of logic for that as well. Yes. But the class that we are doing is with Shankara Bhashyam. We are everywhere going with that particular only. I'm sure I have not seen in the ISKCON interpretation of Prabhu and Vibhu. I'm sure it will be in that order. It won't be the order that we said Prabhu and Prabhu Vibhu as Atma. It won't be that. If any of you want to do a homework and check it out, that'll be a good analysis and post it in our WhatsApp chat. Because these things expand our knowledge, right? So that's what, we'll really, yeah, it's good. That is where you see Omkara Swami சொல்லுவார் தான் மாயாவை பத்தி பேசினா பேசிட்டே இருக்க தோன்றது பார்த்தீங்களா உங்களுக்கு அதான் மாயா.
The only way to transcend Maya is not to talk about Maya. Just
Yama sa Maya.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. But it is good if you want to do relative thing as this particular shloka 14 and 15 from any other book and see what you see. That'll be good. If any of you, I would like to, who would like to do that? Just online also you can do ISKCON or somewhere. What does it say about shloka 14 and 15 and post it in our WhatsApp group? Yeah? Would you like to? Subramaniam ji? Shall I give you that homework if you don't mind? Or Krishna Kumar ji?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sorry to mention one thing. This ISKCON people actually during the COVID they conducted some classes and I attended. But they degrade Adi Shankara ji by calling him as a impersonator and all those things, which I couldn't digest actually.
Who was it? Sorry, where did you go? Sorry.
ISKCON.
Yeah.
That I don't, because we don't
yes.
Any else. The different school of thought, we shouldn't use harsh words and all, which I couldn't digest. But somehow I completed the course, but in between I felt like coming out because that's not the right way of...
Correct. They will say, especially when you go on chapter 7 and everything, they will say they are all petty gods, and they
even
will say
Shivan is demigod, they will say. They
demigod, petty god,
another other devatas. They interpret in such a manner that it is convenient for them to call others like.
Because, in chapter 9 on Yopyan Yadevata, that one will come as well. So all those things they interpret it like, only, and they even say Krishna is a Parabrahman, and even they say even Nara, Dasavatara is from Krishna. So, they even change the whole Bhagavatam. But
that which I cannot accept.
Whereas that is a
when you mentioned ISKCON, I thought of sharing it with you because at one point my husband even told, why you want to listen to the whole thing? I told, I've started listening to them, let me finish. But he told, when someone is going to talk bad about our guru, we shouldn't.
Correct.
That was his opinion. He was even upset with me for continuing the classes, but I told, okay, I've started. I did not want to come out in the middle.
See, we Advaitin, we accept Ashishtadvaita, Dvaitins. We just say, okay, fine. If that concept brings you happiness and moksha, so be it. But they call us Shankaracharya, Mayavadi and all.
The words they use, it really hurts the other person. Because now we don't talk bad about Madhvacharya, Ramanuja. We keep them in the highest esteem. Because they are also knowledgeable person. Although they're so we shouldn't do that. But ISKCON people, they started to speak like that about Adi Shankaracharya, which I couldn't. Okay, thank you. Sorry, I should not have, but I felt like when you were ISKCON, I wanted to share it with you.
See, Maya. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Babaji. Thank you.
Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Namo Namaha. Okay. Thank you. Hari Om.